Hello. How are you? I'm fine. I yelled at a lot of kids today, so I'm losing my voice even more today than I was yesterday. So that's a joy. I've got hot chocolate, so hopefully that'll help a little bit. But yay! Oh my gosh. I know. I'm killing it. Well, so the kids were okay yesterday that I was, teaching, but today, oh, they were just such a terror. So, yeah, I know it's a huge mug of cocoa, but yeah, if the hot chocolate doesn't fix it, then I don't know what will. I mean, I could have made tea, I guess, but I had tea this morning, so I wanted to have something different. I still have the orange mix-in stuff. And I got tea recently from the grocery store. It's not as good as the tea that I had before, but I mean, it's still good. And then I also have this tea from Japan too. I know it's not Japanese tea, I don't think, but it's Sri Lankan tea actually. But it's good. It's honey tea, so I like it a lot. It's delicious. It's super sweet and everything. So I might have that later this week. It's delicious. So, oh no, your grocery store ran out of cocoa. I buy cocoa from, there's like not a convenience store, but it's like a general store. I buy it from a general store. And it's a little overpriced, not gonna lie, but I mean, it's American brand. I don't know of any Korean brand hot chocolate, so I don't really know where to get hot chocolate at a less steep price. But it is what it is, I guess. I mean, it's hot chocolate. It's not a necessity. It is what it is. Oh, I forgot to edit the title of this stream today. Oh my goodness. Okay, fantastic. In case you were not aware, today we are going to start reading Macbeth. So that's very exciting. Oh goodness. So I've never read Macbeth before. I know nothing about it, so this is kind of exciting. It's also a little nerve-wracking because I'm nervous about maybe not knowing fully what's going on at all times. No worries. Have a good night, Light. Night, Light. Have a good night. I hope you have a good evening. Good luck on your university reading and all that. Hopefully, I don't know if you have exams or anything, but study hard, study well, all that good stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Good night. Yeah, catch you next time. Yeah, I've never read Macbeth before, so I'm a little nervous about it because I'm worried that I'm not going to fully catch everything that is in the story because I've never read it before, I've never analyzed it before, I haven't read an analysis of it yet. I mean, with Merchant of Venice, it was pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it's a comedy, so it's not as hard to follow as, say, the dramas are, and there aren't as many long, stretched out lulls of monologues or like dramatic whatevers, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. Oh, it's still so warm. I don't know why it's not airing out. I really want to drink it. So yeah, I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to see what's in store. Again, I've heard good things about it. I've heard it's a great story. I mean, I'm pretty sure almost everyone read this in high school. I didn't read this in high school, though. I mean, a lot of people, I guess, were expected to read more Shakespeare. I didn't ever read a lot of Shakespeare. I think we just read Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, and that's it for my English class, my literature classes. But I took theater classes, so I also read Othello, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and what was the other one? Much Ado About Nothing, but that's it. Like we didn't read that many. I didn't read Taming of the Shrew. I didn't read The Tempest. I didn't read Macbeth. I didn't read Hamlet, which I mean Hamlet I think is more iconic than Macbeth. So, you know. Yeah. Okay. Well, great. It's still warm. Okay. Great. I'm drinking it as if it has like alcohol in it or something. I wish I had, I would put an ice cube in it if I had ice cubes, but I don't have ice cubes. Ugh. But yeah, it's a little warm, so I'll let it cool some more. And we'll get reading. So we're starting with Act 1, Scene 1. We're on the open ground, thunder and lightning, and there are 3 witches. Okay. This is already a big opening. It's just like open ground, thunder, and like I'm imagining like pyrotechnics, but like Shakespearean pyrotechnics. I can't. It's funny to imagine like lasers, Shakespearean lasers, just like this is Macbeth, and it's just like and there are like drums and whatever. I think that's a funny idea to start a Shakespearean play. Exactly. Pew pew pew, and then 3 witches come in. Okay, I have to distinguish the 3 witches. I'm trying to think. Okay, they'll hold different things, I guess. Okay, one of them is holding a candle, because witches like candles. Then, fuck, I already messed it up. Okay, when shall we 3 meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? And then which 2 goes, she's holding, this is a broomstick, okay? Get with it. No, it can be a wand. It's a wand. I don't think it's those kind of witches, though. I think it's more supposed to be like the idea of like Salem witches, where they do witchcraft, but they're not like, you're a wizard, Harry. It's not like that. Okay, but anyway, she's holding a wand, because why the hell not? And which number 2 goes, when the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. And then the 3rd one is holding a witch's brew. It says, that will be ere the sun, the set of sun. Which number 1? Where the place? Which number 2? Upon the heath. Which number 3? There to meet with Macbeth. Ooh, okay, so we already have mentioned Macbeth. Which number 1? I come, Grey Malkin. And then Grey 2 says, which 2 says, Paddock calls. Which 3 says, anon. And then they all say, I'm not carrying all of these things at once. Well, maybe I can. Okay. Fair is foul. Oh shit. Foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. Okay. As I spit out my wand. Okay, and they all exunt. Okay, so all of the witches they said, okay, when are we going to meet again? We've met upon this, rainy and thunderous night, but when shall we meet again? And they're like, okay, upon the heath, we'll meet with Macbeth. I come. And then they all go back to whoever they're supposed to go to. So which number 1 goes to Grey Malkin, which number 2 goes to Paddock. And then which number 3 is calling to anon, which just means, the person who's calling them, essentially. And then they exit. And scene 2 begins. These first 2 scenes are like the shortest scenes I've ever seen. Just kidding. I think scene 1 is a little bit shorter than scene 2. Scene 2 is a little bit, it's more action-packed, I guess. So, a camp near Forres? I don't know. It seems we're in Scotland, by the way, so keep that in mind. Everybody is Scottish. So, Alarum is within. Enter King Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain, Lennox in attendance, meeting a bleeding captain. Okay. This So there's a captain who's bleeding. Lit. Okay. And Duncan says, "What bloody man is that? He can report as seemeth by his plight of the revolt, the newest state." So Duncan's just stating the obvious. He's just like, I don't know who the hell this is. Who's this? And Malcolm says, "This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend! Say to the king the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it." So Malcolm says, okay, this dude, the captain, or whatever, he saved my ass in battle, and he made sure that I wasn't, like, in captivity. I guess, was he a prisoner of war, maybe? I don't know. That's possible. But he's, okay. It says here that he is Duncan's eldest son as well. So Malcolm was a prisoner, and this dude who's bleeding out on the floor fought to save him. And Duncan is the king of Scotland. Okay. So, Captain comes in as he's bleeding on the floor, and he's just like, pew, pew, pew. And the captain says, "Doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art. The merciless Donwald, I love it. Worthy to be a rebel for that, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. From the western isles of kerns and gallow glasses is supplied. And fortune, on his damned quarrel smiling, showed like a rebel's whore, and all too weak, for brave Macbeth, well he deserves that name, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution, like valor's minion carved out his passage, till he faced the slave, which ne'er took hands nor blade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements." Okay, so Macbeth was also there. So there was a dude named Macdonwald from the Western Isles. So I would guess that means from, oh God, oh no, I don't want to reveal my lack of knowledge of geography. Hold on. United Kingdom geography. Hold up. Am I right or am I wrong? Am I wrong or am I right? Where's Scotland in this? Where is Scotland? What the heck? Where is it? Scotland is part of the UK. Am I crazy? Am I nutso? Yeah. Okay, so he's probably from Ireland. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so Scotland is on... Wait, Scotland is on top? I thought Wales was on top. I thought Wales was the hat. Hold on a sec. Where's Wales then? What? Okay, we're not going to get into this. We're not going to get into my lack of knowledge. Ireland? Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking to Jokos, is I was like, isn't it Ireland? Okay, so Macdonwald is from Ireland, the Western Isles. Of kerns and gallow glasses is supplied. Okay, and then Macbeth showed up, and he was like, hell yeah, I'm going to break you out of here, bitches. But the captain was also there, and he also helped. So, essentially, that's... Captain was like, look, I was with Macbeth. We, like, fucking broke Duncan out of there, and we got his ass out, you know? And Duncan's like, oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman. Captain said, as whence the sun gins his reflection, ship-racking storms and direful thunders break, so, from that spring whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. Mark, King of Scotland, mark, no sooner justice had, with valor armed, compelled these skipping kerns to trust their heels, but the Norwegian lord, surveying vantage with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault. Okay. So, it seems... No! This is where I'm going to start getting really fuzzy and it's not going to start working. Okay. So, Captain, I guess, is saying, so, whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwrecking storms and direful thunders break. So, like, once things start getting calm, eventually things are going to pick up again. So, you know, the storms and the thunders are going to break. These bad things are going to start happening again. I think this is like a forewarning that the captain is giving. So, oh yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. From that spring whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. So be wary and be sure to know that this is going to possibly not be good for you. No worries, Lorenzo. Thanks. No worries. Have a good night. Enjoy your evening. Duncan. Dismayed not this, our captains Macbeth and Banquo. So Duncan's like, whoa. Have you told Macbeth this? Have you told Banquo this? I don't know who Banquo is. Let's see who Banquo is. Banquo is a Scottish thane. What's a thane? No! What's a thane? Is it just like a freeman granted land by the king in return for military service? Okay. We're good. It's a man with land. Banquo. And Captain says yes. So he has told them. As sparrows, eagles, or the hare, the lion, if I say sooth, I must report they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks, so they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe. Except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds or memorize another Golgotha. I cannot tell. But I am faint, my gaseous cry for help. So Captain's like, I told them the information and they're going to do with it what they will. I can't force them to take it. I can't, make them do anything. And Duncan said, so well thy words become thee as thy wounds. They smack of honor both. Go get him surgeons. And then the captain and the attendants leave. Who comes here? And Ross and Angus enter. Okay. I don't know who Ross and Angus are. Ross and Angus. Let's see. Ross is a Scottish thane. And so is Angus. We have more thanes. More land owning, not dames. It happens, I love inheriting land. Okay. So they enter. And Malcolm says, the worthy thane of Ross. And Lennox says, who is Lennox? Who is Malcolm? What? Malcolm, okay, yeah, Malcolm is Duncan's older son. This is going to take me a minute. Lennox is also a thane. Okay, great. We have so many land-owning men. I know, there are already so many people to joke because I can't do it. Okay, Lennox says, what a haste. Looks through his eyes. So he look that seems to speak thus, things strange. And Ross says, God save the king. Wow, thank you, Ross. So insightful. Duncan said, whence camest thou, worthy thane? And Ross says, okay, so I'm guessing this is like an open forum for people to just come into the king. It's like those scenes where they come in and they're like, I have something to say, Mr. King. And then the king's just like, what do you want? And they're like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so this thane named Ross comes in and he says, from Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky and fan our people cold, Norway himself with numbers terrible, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a dismal conflict, till the Bellona's bridegroom, lapped in proof, confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point rebellious, arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit, and, to conclude, the victory fell on us. Okay. So, They're asking when they came and from where. So essentially Norway is like sweeping out the people in his town, I guess is what's happening. Or so it seems. Hold on, let's go to the book footnotes. They're unhelpful. They're so unhelpful. Okay. So I'm guessing it means that Norway is like sweeping through. There are people that aren't supposed to be there. Ross doesn't want these people on his land. And they're doing some bad things. But I read it wrong. No! Okay. No, they're not sweeping him out. Ross said the victory fell on us. So Ross won the battle between Norway and him? No! This is going to be rough. I'm so sorry. Okay, and then Duncan comes in and he says, great happiness! And that's how I realized that it wasn't Ross who lost. This is going to be a struggle. Okay. Ross. That now. Sweno, the Norway's king, craves composition. Nor would we deign him burial of his men till he dispersed at St. Column's inch. $10,000 to our general use. Duncan. No more than Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest. Go pronounce his present death, and with this formal title, greet Macbeth. Ross. I'll see it done. Duncan. What he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won. Okay, so Ross is just saying, like, okay, we killed a lot of dudes. We're not going to bury them because that's not our responsibility. But Norway's going to have to pay to get the bodies back. So, yeah, and we'll give a lot of that money to Macbeth. And that's what the king told him to do, is, like, give some of this to Macbeth, because this is Macbeth's win. And then they exhumed. Okay. Which is, honestly, I think burials in plays, old plays, are really interesting. The way that people who are dead now handled death and buried people, I think that's very interesting. Because I think death used to be handled much less, well, not much less sensitively, but death was just much more common because they didn't have the technology that they have now. So they just had different burial rituals, or they didn't dispose of bodies with, I guess, the same. They do it much differently. Like they used to bury people on top of people in cemeteries because cemeteries were so crowded. And it became such a problem that, like, the cemeteries would reek because there were so many dead bodies in them and people wouldn't want to go. Like, people would get sick going to the cemeteries. And, like, there would be areas in the cemeteries that would literally sink because they had such big holes in them. Or they would just be mounted up so high and they would just, like, put so much soil over these graves that were already buried. And it was interesting, too. I mean, I've read books on burials and things like that. And I remember I read that they would bury multiple people in the same plot in the same day. But what they would do is they would dig it, and then they would have the funeral with that one person in the plot. And they would take the casket out, dig a deeper hole, and then put it back in, cover it up a little bit, and then put the next casket in. Because people were very particular about what church they wanted to be buried at, or what church they wanted their loved one to be buried at. And so they would really insist upon it. And a lot of, I mean, back in the day, people wanted to be buried at their church because it was seen as the only way to go to heaven. It was the holy place to be buried as a Christian. And so people would be fighting tooth and nail to be buried there. I mean, now, at least in America, people don't really get buried in church cemeteries. There are just massive cemeteries that people get buried in now. But yeah, back in the day, it was just, you wanted to be in the gate that was attached to the church. And so, yeah, it was overcrowded. It was a big problem. People would get sick going to church. People would faint at funerals because it smelled so bad. It was just, I think that's kind of lit though at the same time, because it's just like, man, can you imagine being around the stench of corpses for a funeral and you're just like, holy shit, this is so bad that I have to faint. That would be kind of surreal, I think. I mean, it's very gruesome for sure, but it's also, I think it's interesting. Okay. Scene 3. On that light note. Anyway, a barren heath, and there's thunder, and the 3 witches enter again. Oh, I'm so glad the witches are back. Okay, let's get the props out. Witch number 1. Where hast thou been, sister? Oh, they're sisters, okay. And witch 2 says, killing swine. And witch number 3 says, sister, where thou? And which one says, I wonder if they just call each other sister because they're close, or if they're actually sisters. I don't think they're actually sisters. I would think that they're just... In Korea, there's a thing where people who aren't related call each other sister and brother because it's just like... They don't call people... You don't really call people by their name. You call them like big brother or big sister. So maybe it's just like that. But anyway, which one? A sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, quoth I. Arunt thee, witch, and rumphed. Ron young cries, her husband's to Aleppo gone, master, oth tiger. But in a sieve I'll thither sail, and like a rat without a tail, I'll do, and I'll do. Which 2? I'll give thee a wind. Thou'rt kind. I like how which one had the audacity to just go up to somebody and watch this lady eat chestnuts and then be like, can I have some? I can't imagine somebody coming up to me and being like, hey, can I have a bite? I did. I went on a date with somebody. So this was the first time. No, it wasn't the first time I ever planned a date, but it was the most recent date that I planned. And it was a date that I wanted to get this person to go out of their comfort zone a little bit because they were a very shy person and they talked about how they wanted to kind of like, they didn't want to feel uncomfortable in their own skin anymore, I guess, or they wanted to be more comfortable with just like being around strangers and speaking up. And so we had a date where I made like a bunch of uncomfortable situations or like things that wouldn't necessarily, like they're not actually that uncomfortable, but like it's something you wouldn't normally do. So things like doing a dance routine in the middle of a street or like going up to someone and having a conversation with them that you don't know. And so one of them that they picked is I said that they had to buy a food and ask someone if they wanted a bite on the street, like a complete stranger. And so they bought a sandwich and went up to this random grandma and they said, hey, would you like some? And the grandma was just like so frightened and she was just like, and she ran away. And it was so funny. But anyway, yeah, so that's what that reminded me of, is like these ladies just being like, hey, can I have some of your chestnuts, please? Is when he said, hey, do you want some of my sandwich, Grandma? It was so funny. So funny. Anyway, okay. Thou art kind. Okay, which one said thou art kind? And which 3 says, and I another. So which 3 is going to send another wind? Okay. And which one says, I myself have all the other, and the very ports they blow, all the quarters that they know, if the shipman's card. I'll drain him dry as hay, sleep shall neither night nor day, hang upon his penthouse lid. We shall live a man forbid, weary 7 nights, 9 times 9. Shall he dwindle, peak and pine, though his bark cannot be lost, yet it shall be tempest tossed. Look what I have. So which one is just like, look, I can make shit happen in the seas, okay? I can make this magic happen if I wanted to. And which 2 says, show me, show me. Which one says, here, I have a pilot's thumb. Racked as homeward he did come. And so drum within. And so she's just like drumming. So she's saying she has control over one of the pilots that's on the ocean, or that's in the seas, and she can control where he goes because she has hold of him. And which three says, a drum, Macbeth doth come. So the drum is drumming, and it's just like ton, 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 ton. Okay, and then they dance in a ring. That's very witchy. Ring dancing. I don't ring dance. I used to swing dance, but not ring dance. And they all say, the wayward sisters, hand in hand, boasters of the sea and land, thus do go about. Thrice to thine, and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up 9. Peace, the charms wound up. And then they stop. So they're excited because Macbeth is coming back. I don't know, maybe Macbeth is a hottie. They're like, hell yeah, Macbeth is back. Anyway, so Macbeth and Banquo enter. And Macbeth says, so foul and fair a day I have not seen. Macbeth, oh, sorry. I don't know why I would say that smiling. He's probably upset because it's been raining and storming all day. So foul and fair a day I have not seen. Banquo, how farest called to forest? What are these, so withered and so wild in their attire, that look not like the inhabitants of the earth, and yet are on it? Live you, or are you aught that man may questions? You seem to understand me, by each at once her choppy finger laying upon her skinny lips. You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so. Whoa, Banquo is like flaming these witches. He's like, whoa, you guys are ugly, your clothes are ugly, you have beards. Why are you guys so hideous? Why do you look like the scum of the earth? And Macbeth says, speak if you can. What are you? I'm dead. I mean, at least Macbeth said it in not so many words. He's just like, can you talk? Can you just tell me what's going on? And which one says, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. Thane, so the witches are pretending to be Thanes, owners of land, men. Which two says, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. It's more women wearing pants. Oh my God, it's a miracle. And which three says, all hail Macbeth, that shalt be king after all. Just kidding, they're calling Macbeth a Thane. I'm so stupid. Okay, Banquo. Good sir, why do you start and seem to fear things that do sound so fair? In the name of truth, are ye fantastical, or that indeed which outwardly ye show? My noble partner you greet with presence, grace, and great prediction. Of noble, having and of royal hope, that he seems rapt withal. To me, you speak not. If you can look into the seeds of time and say which grain will grow and which will not, speak then to me, who neither beg nor fear your favors nor your hate. Banquo's like, whoa, why are you loving on Macbeth so much? What about me? Bros? Why can't you like me too? If you're so magical, you should know who I am too. Duh. And which one says, hail? And which two says, hail? And which three says, hail? And we all hail him. If soon enough, it's going to be a hailstorm. And which one says, lesser than Macbeth and greater? Rip. Rip. And which two says, not so happy, yet much happier? And which three says, thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo. Which one says, Banquo and Macbeth, all hail. So they're making a fuss. They just got back. Macbeth says, stay, you imperfect speakers, tell me more. By Sinel's death I know I am Thane of Glamis, but how of Cawdor? The Thane of Cawdor lives, a prosperous gentleman, and to be king stands not within the prospect of belief no more than to be Cawdor. Say from whence you owe this strange intelligence, or why upon this blasted heath you stop our way with such prophetic greeting. Speak, I charge you. So Macbeth is like, yes, I am the owner of Glamis, but I don't own Cawdor, because the dude who owns Cawdor is still alive, so I don't understand why you're telling me I own that. So can you tell me what the What are you talking about? And the witches vanish. I'm dead. They're like, oh, can't tell you that. It's a secret. And Banquo says, the earth hath bubbles, as the water has, and these are of them. Whither are they vanished? Macbeth, into the air, and what seemed corporal melted as breath into the wind. Would they had stayed. I'm butchering this so badly. Banquo, were such things here as we do speak about, or have we eaten on the insane root that takes the reason prisoner? Macbeth, your children shall be kings. Banquo, you shall be king. Is Macbeth supposed to be king? I don't know. Anyway, so Banquo is trying to say he's going to be the king eventually, I guess. And Macbeth says, and Thane of Cawdor too. Went it not so? Oh, so no, I get it. So the witches are prophesizing that Macbeth, who is currently the Thane of Glamis, will soon be the Thane of Cawdor and eventually be the king. And they're just like joking around. They're like, yeah, and eventually I'm going to own Cawdor and be the king too. Whatever. Macbeth says, oh, and Thane of Cawdor too, went it not so? And Banquet says, to the self-same tune and words, who's here? And Ross and Angus come back. Them dumbass Thanes. Man, they gotta talk to everybody. Ross. The king hath happily received, Macbeth, the news of thy success, and when he reads thy personal venture in the rebels' fight, his wonders and his praises do contend which should be thine of his. Silenced with that, and viewing o'er the rest of the self same day, he finds thee in the stout Norwegian ranks. Nothing afeard of what thyself didst make, strange images of death, as thick as hail came post with post, and everyone did bear thy praises in his kingdom's great defense, and poured them down before him. So Ross is just telling him what he and the king discussed. He's just like, look, the king is super happy that you've done slayed those Norwegian dudes. Rip Norway. And so he's very proud of you. He's happy that you did that. And Angus said, we are sent to give thee from our royal master thanks, only to herald thee into his sight, not to pay thee. So they're essentially just there to be like, yo, they're like a live thank you card. They're like those weird greeting cards that you see in the movies where they like sing a song. They're like, this is a singing Valentine. But instead of a singing Valentine, it's a speaking thank you card. Lame. Anyway, Ross says, and for an earnest of a great honor, he bade me from him call thee Thane of Cawdor. In which addition, hail, most worthy Thane, for it is thine. So Ross just said to Macbeth, you are going to own Cawdor now. Cawdor is yours as a thank you gift from the king, which is freaky because how would the witches have known? They didn't know they were witches either. Macbeth and Banquo didn't know they were witches, sorry. He didn't know they were witches. And so this is a strange occurrence. And Banquo says in the aside, what? Can the devil speak true? So Banquo is essentially just like, oh shit, how did they know? Macbeth says, the Thane of Cawdor lives. Why do you dress me in borrowed robes? So Macbeth is just like, why are you taking somebody's land away? That's really not cool. So don't do that. Why are you doing that? And Angus says, who as the Thane lives yet, but under heavy judgment bears that life which he deserves to lose. Whether he was combined with those of Norway, or did lie in the rebel with hidden help and vantage, or that with both, he laboured in his country's wrack, I know not. But treason's capital confessed and proved have overthrown him. So Angus is essentially saying that the dude who owns Cawdor right now, though he's alive, he doesn't deserve it anymore. He did some like really disgraceful crap. And like, just, he's been working behind the king's back, whatever. And Macbeth says, aside, Glamis and Thane of Cawdor, the greatest is behind. And then aloud, thanks for your pains. And then he says to Banquo, it's a secret. Do you not hope your children shall be kings, when those that give the Thane of Cawdor to me promised no less to them? Ooh. Yeah, that's valid. So Macbeth is just like, hey, Banquo, okay, hold on. Who is Banquo again? Yeah, he's just a Scottish thane. He's just a dude who owns some land, right? And so Macbeth is like, look, the king promised you that your sons would be royalty at some point. So do you not fear the fact that maybe the king was lying to you because of the fact that he just uprooted this man who owned the land that I just inherited because I did a good deed? Like, do you not worry that the king is going to cross you? And Banquo says to Macbeth in a secret voice, that trusted home might yet enkindle you into the crown, beside the Thane of Cawdor. But 'tis strange, and oftentimes to win us to our harm, and instruments of darkness tell us truth. Win us with honest trifles to betrays in deepest consequence. Cousins, a word, I pray you. And then Banquo and Ross and Angus talk privately with each other. And they're just like, me. And Macbeth says, as an aside, two truths are told, as happy prologues to the swelling act of the imperial theme. So Macbeth is just like, oh, these ladies said two things that were very true about me. Is there going to be something else? And then anyway, he says out loud, I thank you, gentlemen. And then he says aside, this supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, cannot be good. If ill, why hath it given me earnest of success? Commencing in a truth, I am Thane of Cawdor. If good, why do I yield to that suggestion, whose horrid image doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature? Present fears are less than horrible imaginings. My thought, whose mirther yet is but fantastical, shakes so my single state of man that function is smothered in surmise, and nothing is but what is not. So Macbeth is worried because he's just like, at what cost am I going to achieve these things? Because he's like, I achieved Cawdor, but, this other man is now homeless and owns nothing. So if the premonition about me being a king is true, at what cost am I going to become a king? You know what I mean? So let's see. Let's see what the price is. Banquo says to Ross and Angus, look how our partner's wrapped. And Macbeth says, aside again. I'm dead. There's so many asides. If chance will have me king, why chance may crown me without my stir. So again, he's like, if I'm gonna be king, what's gonna happen to get me there? And Banquo says to Ross and Angus, new honors come upon him like our strange garments, cleave not to their mold, but with the aid of use. So Banquo's just like, yeah, this is expected, Macbeth, he works hard, whatever, he deserves this shit. Macbeth says aside, come what come may, time and the hour runs through the roughest day. Macbeth is just like, it's gonna happen. So, whatever happens, I'm chill with it. Whatever it is, it's life. And Banquo says, worthy Macbeth, we stay upon your leisure. And Macbeth says to the others, give me your favor. My dull brain was wrought with things forgotten. Kind gentlemen, put your plans. Your pains are registered that every day I turn, oh God, okay, one more time. Kind gentlemen, your pains are registered where every day I turn the leaf to read them. Let us toward the king. Anyway, so they're going to go back and head and talk to the king. And Macbeth says, as an aside to Banquo, think upon that hath chanced, and at more time the interim having weighed it, let us speak our free hearts to each other. Banquo says, very gladly. And Macbeth says, till then enough. Come, friends. And then they exit. Okay. I'm only going to read half of Act 1 today because I want to save the rest. It's a longer act, so I'm just going to save the rest of the act for tomorrow. But that was good. Okay, so we have a couple of characters that we've met so far. So we met Duncan, who's the current King of Scotland. We have Malcolm, who's his son, who was captured and a prisoner and eventually broken out by the, what's his name? The captain who was there, and Macbeth also did some shit too, I guess. Macbeth also fought the Norwegians, so he, kept them at bay, defeated them in a battle. The king was sick. I'm so glad to hear that. And Macbeth comes back with Banquo. Banquo is an owner of land in Scotland. He's not like anything of much importance. But the king does know Banquo, and the king has promised Banquo that his sons will eventually become royalty. But these three little witches come and they're like, hey, so Macbeth, are you excited to be the owner of this new piece of property and King of Scotland? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. And then, these people who come to represent the king are like, hey, you own this new land now. And Macbeth's like, what? What are you talking about? These witches were right. And he didn't know they were witches, but he knew they looked strange. So, he's kind of like thinking about this idea of, if I become the king, what's going to happen and whatever. Interesting. It's an interesting premise. I'm excited to get through it so far. I mean, the very beginning was a little rough. But I think I'm picking up on it okay. I'm starting to understand a little bit of what's happening. With Macbeth actually in the scene, it makes more sense than when people are just talking about people that we don't know yet. I mean, I think that's with anything, though, is when you have context about somebody directly rather than just hearing about them secondhand, it makes more sense. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into this more. I'm excited to finish Act 1 tomorrow, and we'll get some reading done. So, yeah, short stream today, but, I want to make sure I save my voice, too, and make sure we can continue on a healthy road. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you for watching. If you want, follow. If not, that's fine. If you enjoyed this stream and you want to watch previous videos or previous streams, you can find them on my YouTube channel and watch them there. It's linked down in my about or in the description. So feel free to head over there too if you're interested. And thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow then. Have a good night or a good day or whatever you're doing. So, see you later. Bye.